Redacted. Welcome to Redacted. We'll get to Redacted in a moment, but first, this week Australian newspapers redacted their front pages to stand together for an important cause. What was the cause? I don't know. I tried to read about it in my newspaper, but it was redacted. Still, best edition of The Australian in months. Is there an ad that can tell me more? Maybe one in an overly ominous tone.
The tax office can take money directly out of people's accounts, but you're not allowed to know.
I'm not allowed to know? Good news. I didn't know. And after that, I still don't know what you're talking about. And I don't know anything about how the tax office works. We have a deal. I don't ask them how they get their money, and they don't ask me how I get mine. What else did the ad say?
The government can approve the terms for huge sales of agricultural land to foreign companies, but you're not allowed to know.
You know, I honestly didn't even care about this before, but now it sounds like good gossip. And who redacted Tasmania? I think people know about Tasmania. Why can't you tell me anything?
The media cannot investigate cover-ups and keep the government honest if it says you're not allowed to know.
The government says I can't know. Ah, so Osher is allowed to know who all the masked singers are, and I get nothing. Does the government think I can't keep a secret? I can keep a secret. I knew it was Cody Simpson, and I didn't say anything because I didn't know who he was. Why won't anyone tell me anything?
The government can raid journalists for reporting the truth if it says you're not allowed to know.
You can get raided for reporting the truth? So the Daily Mail will be fine. This is the ABC. We get raided every other week, and you still haven't found what I planted in Costa's garden. Come on. Just give me a hint. What am I not allowed to know?
When the government hides the truth from you, what are they covering up?
Oh, I know this one. It's the truth. You just said it. Now, I don't know if I'm allowed to know this, but that ad was from the Your Right to Know campaign, whose own logo has been redacted. I think it originally said this. Can I at least know what it is that I'm not allowed to know? According to their website, the government is keeping all kinds of secrets. Big ones, medium ones, and even what's for lunch at Parliament House. Really? I can't even know what the government is having for lunch? Fine, two can play at that game. Tonight, I'll be eating You're Not Allowed to Know. Going to welcome our panel, Todd Sampson, and from BWM Dentsu, Kamei O'Keefe. Joining them from Leo Burnett, Emily Taylor, and from PwC, Russell Howcroft. Welcome. There is a vaguely sinister marketing term used by the beverage industry to describe the amount of liquid we consume every day. Throat share. Milk's share of throat has been steadily declining in recent years. There are over 200 milk varieties in many supermarkets, and milk that doesn't even come from cows now makes up 7% of Australia's milk throat share. I can feel a little vomit in my mouth share. Norco is an Australian dairy supplier which has been around since 1895. It is always advertised with sunshine and rolling hills, but 3 weeks ago it released a very different type of campaign.
This is the worst drought I've ever seen. It's impacting so many Norco farmers. Feed prices are ridiculous. It's just such tough going. It's so important to us that our cows are in top condition so we can produce the best quality milk. That's why we're asking our fellow Aussies just to pay that little bit more for our milk. It's only a few extra cents and it all goes back to helping Norco dairy farmers. No offshore companies, no foreign investors, just hard-working Aussie farmers. Because right now, every cent does count.
I only have one bit of feedback. Why did Norco include the other brands in that fridge shot? I would have done this.
The tax office can take money directly out of people's accounts, but you're not allowed to know.
That ad asks us to pay just a few cents more for Norco milk. Most ads are about low prices. Emily, will people pay more if a farmer asks them to?
Yeah, they will. And ultimately, I think that's because we're in drought and because people care about the farmers. But it can feel pretty hard when we see all this imagery of, dry fields and dying cows, and the whole issue is so large for us to feel like there's much we can do. But what this does is it breaks it down into a really small action, so something that we can all do every time we get to the shelf. And we actually know it works, because in 2016, the dairy farmers actually said to us, well, can you stop choosing the supermarket milk where less goes to the farmers, and can you start choosing dairy farmers' milk?
The problem with that, unfortunately, is they anchored the price at $1. Now, if you think of Avion, naive spelt backwards, if you think of Avion, that's $3, right? It's $1 for milk. So they're
Which is Klim spelt backwards.
That's true. That's true. Anchor point is incredibly low, right? And now when we ask them to put the price up a little bit, that seems like such a big ask, when in fact, the psychological price of $1 is absolutely ridiculous in the first place.
And the purpose of brand advertising is to get a price premium. That's actually why you do it in the first place.
While dairy farmers are struggling, alternative milk brands are exploding. You might have seen them on the counter of some of Australia's 20,000 cafes. The graphic design looks like the love child of a kindergarten craft project and a Gorman dress. The fastest growing alternative milk is almond, despite the fact that it contains 2% actual almonds, and a single almond takes 12 litres of water to produce. US brand Almond Breeze is the market leader. Here's an ad running on Aussie screens.
Breeze the day.
Hey, she's very good at surfing. And yum, a carton of milk that's been sitting out in the sun. And I think that's actually how much water it takes to make one almond. Apart from the beach milk, the only branding in that ad is the blurry logo on the back of Sally Fitzgibbon's wetsuit. The ad feels so generic, it could have been for anything, like this product.
Breeze the day.
Todd, would they sell more Almond Breeze if they stopped playing that ad?
Probably. So that ad is as much about just putting out healthy lifestyle, using cliche and using, someone who's been used a lot, but it's linking that healthy lifestyle with almond milk.
Yeah, but there's no way that imagery is going to be linked with that brand.
Yes, it is.
Not a chance. This stuff drives me insane.
So that ad is not the only thing they're doing. Just to let you know.
I get that.
Right.
I get that.
Yeah.
But if you owned that product and you'd purchased 30 seconds to go on television, and you're not a big brand yet, you'd make sure that, if it was my brand, I'd make sure that 30 seconds of that commercial was that pack shot. I want everyone to know what the hell it is I want them to look for and what I want them to buy. I like looking at a surfing. It's awesome. I'm quite happy looking at a surfing.
Yes.
I'm not going to relate that imagery to that brand, and I'm not going to buy it as a result. Please, can they spend the money properly?
It feels like a really lazy execution.
It definitely is. I just want to reiterate, It's a horrible execution.
Yeah, we're all agreed on that.
Just to be clear.
And it definitely does the local thing, which is very important in a category that's all about Aussie farmers, Aussie fields, you know, Aussie cows, so it does that well. But I actually think a lot of their success is much more about the fact that they're in the fridge. So it's pretty much the only brand there next to a couple of other unknowns. Maybe you've seen one tiny pack shot, you know, and then you go, great, I'm going with that one. And that's very clever because they're disrupting the existing behaviour and getting you to feel like it's a much more natural transition to go from cow's milk to almond.
Because this is not even milk.
This is not milk.
I don't think people would buy it if it was Almond Breeze nut juice.
No, but so what they're doing though,
Can I have a nut juice latte, please? Oh, I love this nut juice. How tasty is this nut juice? I love drinking nut juice. I put some nut juice on my cereal and enjoy my nut juice.
And that's the cleverness of the reframing the whole thing, is that they're taking all the cues of milk, so any kind of nutritional benefit of milk, and they're putting aside all the negatives. The issue with milk is losing the healthy lifestyle halo. So the issues of steroids or antibiotics or the environment or cruelty to animals or methane, whatever it is, they're sidestepping that but keeping milk.
Oatly is a Swedish oat milk brand that sells itself as more environmentally friendly than almond milk. Especially by the time they fly it in from Sweden. It also has billboards that masquerade as street art, and in the UK, the CEO starred in his own campaign.
Wow, 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 no cow, no, wow.
He wrote that song himself. You know who else loves it?
Wow, no cow, no.
You know what is also clever about it? Wow, spelt backwards, is wow.
That is clever.
We could do a whole episode on Oatly's wacky packaging, also known as wackaging. It's true, we did not make that up. On one of its cartons, it printed a customer comment that says, "This tastes like shit." Glad they got my email. There's essay-length manifestos on other cartons. One carton even has a cutout membership card to be part of the post-milk generation. Who would actually carry around that card? I would. Oh, shit. Now I'm a member of the post-milk generation.
Good on you for actually giving me some entertainment. I will happily give you $3 more. It's a beautiful brand transaction.
The sharpest decline in the dairy sector is low-fat milk, which makes sense because it's disgusting. But one cow's milk is on the rise.
Made by Cow is the world's first safe-to-drink cold-pressed raw milk.
Oh, I see cream.
We asked real people for their real opinions about our real milk.
It's just a burst of memories. Just like it used to be.
Wow, they're really running low on good topics for You Can't Ask That. I'm interested in this line.
I can't believe it's cold-pressed raw milk that's safe to drink.
I wasn't thinking it was unsafe to drink until they mentioned it. Cam, why include that line?
I have no idea. Like, it is literally completely counterintuitive. What they're trying to do is position unhomogenised, unpasteurised milk as the ultimate kind of good, natural energy drink. But all the cues in the execution talk to the exact opposite. So I think it's meant to feel black and white nostalgic. It actually feels creepy, like a jailhouse.
There's a huge amount of assumption in this ad that we all know how milk gets to our shelf, like with the homogenised, pasteurised, that it's done with heat, right? So there's so much assumption in the commercial. They've got amazing technology. This business, they've got, it's cold pressed, amazing technology. It's been approved by the government as a good way to produce milk.
Because this style of milk is illegal generally, but these guys have come up with a way of processing
Exactly.
it. And it's groundbreaking. It's been sold all over the world. It's actually quite a good story.
I know.
But I think there would have been one person in the room on the marketing team who was paranoid about the stories they've had in America where it is illegal and, you know, people are kind of buying it on the black market.
You
and
mean
someone's
paranoid
died
of
from
the
it.
stories, as in people die from drinking raw milk?
Yes.
Yes, they should be paranoid about those
Yeah.
stories.
But someone on that marketing team.
I mean, they should be paranoid, but should they bring it up in the ad?
Well, I think they don't have much options. So nostalgia works because we tend to remember the past better than it was. And in this case, the past of people dying from drinking raw milk is something they kind of feel they legally have to bring up. Now, what I like about it is it has a level of deception in it around the word raw. Because when someone says raw, first of all, it's illegal in Australia. You cannot market or produce raw milk because microorganisms in it can kill you, and it has killed people. So you can't do that. It's not raw. It's not raw.
Yeah, just for the record, I grew up on a dairy farm and I can get you some good shit.
Yes. And unfortunately, I have had it as well, and I'm alive. Raw assumes it's unprocessed. It's processed. So there's two ways of processing. Traditionally, it's with heat, and that kills the bacteria. And their way is with cold, extreme pressed cold. So they were only allowed to use raw as long as they linked, clever, it's super clever, as long as they linked it to cold press. And so they're getting the associations that it's good because good raw milk, but it's not. It's actually cold-pressed milk.
In the face of milk's reduced throat share, not many big brands are churning out advertising, but the industry body, Dairy Australia, does have a new campaign.
What matters to me? My family, their health, and a bright future for our kids.
On the farm, our cows matter. When they're happy and healthy, they produce the kind of milk that lets us make the best dairy for you.
We know good health matters, and we all want to know where our food comes from.
Real food that's natural and nutritious.
When you eat Australian dairy, you're not just getting quality.
You're supporting farmers like us and helping entire communities thrive.
Because the future matters, we're doing more to protect our environment and taking the right steps to leave a proud legacy for tomorrow's generation. Because what matters to you matters to us too.
That ad was made by real farmers who weren't paid. Well, to quote one, this is true. They got a Coles voucher and some jam. The difference between the two? The jam jar is screwed by Australian farmers, whereas Coles does the opposite.
I do like the way the cows were they were in sync. See when their faces all lifted at the same time? I thought that was a lovely bit of film. And I can't help but laugh at the high-vis vests on the young kids. I mean...
Can I tell you,
know...
my 5-year-old has one. We're from Perth originally, and his granddad bought him one, and that was the happiest thing about the ad for me. I was like, oh, the kids in high-vis, they do get me. Anyway.
I just want to show you a bit of that ad again.
What matters to me? My family, their health, and a bright future for our kids.
On the farm, our cows matter.
Now, the panel didn't know this, but that's my brother.
Is it really?
And that's my nephew.
Yay!
Hi, Fred. And that is the farm I grew up on.
Yeah.
And my brother still runs with my mum and dad. Hi, Mum and Dad. Here we are on the farm as kids. Yeah. He's the one at the front driving that toy horse. Even then, my brother was more comfortable around farm animals. Which makes this the most accurate advertising tagline we've ever shown on Gruen. It does matter to me, because one day I'll part-own that farm. And I'm going to use it to grow weed. Thanks for tuning in to Home Delivery. Next week we visit Russell's Pie Factory and Todd's T-shirt warehouse. Earlier this month, Kenyan athlete Eliud Kipchoge became the first person in history to run a marathon in under 2 hours.
Eliud Kipchoge, let's keep an eye on the clock. Into the final 20 seconds. Eliud Kipchoge. Whoa! On his shoulder, 1:40, 140, the unofficial time.
There's his wife.
It's a story that was hyped as a triumph of human endeavour, because it was. But what you might not know is it was also a triumph of marketing endeavour. Elliott raced in a pair of performance-enhancing Nike shoes, which are not for sale and probably not legal in official races. Elliott drinks an energy gel drink called More 10. Oh, now I know why I haven't cracked the sub 2. I've been drinking Mortine. Got rid of my pre-race bugs, though, so... this event was not an official marathon. It was entirely orchestrated by a brand called Ineos. Elliott was the only competitor, and the weather, location and course conditions were so stage-managed the result won't count as an official world record. Ineos branding was everywhere, leading to a massive spike in people asking, what the hell is Ineos? We were as curious as everyone else, so here's a taste of what Ineos sells. I've seen this before. Everyone there's about to be killed by James Bond. Sport makes sense for Nike, but Ineos is a chemical company and not a product consumers can buy. It would be like if Adani sponsored a music and art festival, which they do. The 2-hour marathon barrier has always been driven by marketing. A few years ago, Elliott appeared in a Nike event and documentary called Breaking 2, where, spoiler, no one broke 2. Ineos framed this latest achievement as equivalent to the moon landing.
We have liftoff. Apollo Kipchoge is up and away. Neil Armstrong we had on the moon in 1969. One final lung-busting stride for Kipchoge. One giant leap for human endeavour.
No, it makes sense. Much like the Ineos event, the moon landing was also staged. Don't write to the ABC, it's a joke. Cam, what would have happened if it didn't work out this time?
Well, it obviously would have been anticlimactic because everyone loves a fairy tale ending, but it also wouldn't have been a disaster, I don't think, particularly for a brand like Nike. I know they weren't the primary sponsor, but they're obviously very closely associated. Their story or narrative is around the striving, the quest, so just do it. So it isn't always just about winning, although that is nice, because while we do love an underdog, I don't think we love a loser.
Yeah, I don't care what shoes he's wearing. That is an extraordinary feat. And it doesn't matter if it's flat or broken wind or whatever. It is amazing.
I mean, yeah, he's the most qualified person to do the race, clearly.
Yeah,
like, it would have been a big achievement by Ineos if they got me under 2 hours.
Exactly. But what often happens, though, is the focus becomes on the marketing.
Yeah.
And even though the marketing funded it, he is an extraordinary brand in his own right.
But I agree, the marketing in this, I feel like it did overshadow because the language... Russell's never going to agree.
No.
But did you not feel it was overly scripted?
No, because marketing made it happen. But you know what? I'd be pretty vain too if I had a $60 billion business and I made $7 billion, and I would go and spend it on crazy stuff like this.
No.
What fun! What fun!
Not
like, yeah.
There are worse things he could spend it on, to be fair. So.
Yes, and OK, the business is flush with an enormous amount of money, and I say, OK, let's go and win the America's Cup. So it's a private business as well, $60 billion private business, you know. So another... seriously.
He's gushing.
Russell's having a moment.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty.
And I think if you can imagine the egos who sit around boardroom tables and make
Russell
deals...
doesn't have to imagine. Nike and Ineos have pride of place on Elliott's running outfit. But there's a lot of spare advertising space. He could have easily fit a Maya After Dark logo or a Bref logo or even just redact them all. Eliud is not the only athlete from Kenya to help make a brand look good. Last year, Canadian coffee and donut joint Tim Hortons flew Kenya's only ice hockey team to Toronto for a game.
We get to compete against another team. We used to playing against ourselves. I've never had so much fun like in my entire life.
That's the best part about the game, is just how it reaches so many people, and to share the game that we love to play. I think I had just as much fun as any of those guys did today.
Ah, Justin Trudeau dressed up for them as well.
I think it's too soon. Too soon.
But we're going to redact that picture.